2024 Miami Dolphins. We finished at 8-9. Obviously, we didn't make the playoffs.
I mean, my expectations weren't as high this year. I would say I think the previous 2 years were better windows for us. But at this point, I'm starting to lose faith in terms of like Super Bowl window or anything like that. I'm just trying to figure out how we can move ahead from whatever phase this is. I think Tyreek Hill leaving would be actually somewhat good in terms of locker room, in terms of changing the whole dynamic. But looking back at the season, I mean, it was a failure. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
can't call it nothing else. Tua once again wasn't there. Like, just magically always gets an injury around game 15, 16, pivotal playoff game. So nothing new there. Looking ahead, it's just a whole different thing. I think got to think quarterback second round or something. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we can make a whole hour episode on this, but for your guys' sake, I'm not gonna do that. But I'm just gonna put this out there like, okay, what happened, right? Number one, to his health. We know that. He missed 6 games. We went 1-5 in those games. We should have won three of them if we had
Should
a
have had
healthy
an
quarterback.
adequate backup quarterback to
Yeah,
begin
that
with.
was one of the biggest problems. They put too much faith in Skylar Thompson.
We didn't have a
And
Cooper Rush. We didn't have a Sam Darnold. Nothing like that.
well, that leads me to something else. That's the other problem. Mike McDaniel's like whole livelihood is based so much around Tua because if Tua's not there, it's not the same at all. Tua has very specific elite traits. He's not an elite quarterback, he has elite traits. So once he's out of that, the quarterback that's put back in there is not going to have those elite traits because he has a very rare thing in the league with quarterbacks.
So
That's a
he
whole other
tailored
story.
the offense too much to
Everything's
Tua.
around Tua. It's almost like as we saw it. We had two different quarterbacks in this year, and they both couldn't handle it. Which is not it's not technically their fault. More Skyler than Huntley, obviously. So two was one of the reasons. The lack of depth in the O line and D line was undefensible. Also, the GM going into the season with arrogance that he didn't address them properly was a huge deal, and it came into fruition. We lost
Whatever
three.
happened with that rookie? I didn't hear his name one time all year. The first round pick on the
Chop
D line.
Robinson, he was our best defense, best D line.
Yeah.
He had almost the most amount of hurries that I would say his name wrong. Michael Parsons had. So he was effective. He was, I think, our second sack leader of the team behind Sealer. But when three of our five offensive linemen went out, run game disappeared. We could not run the ball. We went from top five to bottom five. If you can't run the ball, you better have fucking Tom Brady back there. You better have a just an old school gunslinger. That's not what Tua is. Our offense is predicated around the run. When there's no run, we're predictable.
And I told you we went too A chain heavy. Like
Way too A chain heavy.
Mostert can't go from being a top five running back to not getting the ball 70% of the season. Like I
Way
don't
too
get
heavy.
that.
Way too heavy. Um, Not getting Reek the ball. How the fuck don't we get Tyreek the ball more? I didn't understand that. I know they tried later on. One of the positives was the defense being a top 10 defense, but somewhat fraudulent. We were high in percentage when it came to red zone, high in percentage when it came to third down, but we were one of the last teams in turnovers and sacks. You don't have turnovers and sacks, it's not a really good defense. You can stop them with a punch.
I think the defense did their thing though. I think if anything, the offense underperformed.
Dixon, we went from a top five sack team last year to a bottom five this year.
But you just said a top 10 defense overall though.
Overall, yeah, overall.
Like that's
But
good
you're
enough
not
to have the
coaching
offense
for.
that we have and be like successful. Like I
I
feel like
mean,
if the offense would have played up to potential, defense would have stayed the exact same, could have been a playoff team
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
100%. But when you got Tyler Huntley on the other side,
Hey
um,
Snoop, Connor, Snoop Dogg ain't gonna get it done, fam.
so James, let me ask you because I know this is your second team. What did you see when it came to Miami this year?
Yeah. I mean, everything both of you kind of said. One of my biggest things for the Dolphins, they became too one-dimensional in the passing game as well. As Dixon said about maybe getting rid of Tyreek would be a good thing. I kind of agree because once teams kind of figured out what he was, it got very tough, I think, for the Dolphins to move the ball. The running game became nothing, from like you said, Mostert having almost a top five, top 10 year last year to being obsolete.
Yep.
Um, Jalen Wright not being utilized to his potential, and then just too much A
Mm,
chain, too much A chain, too much A chain. The Dolphins just became way too predictable, and they didn't have enough other than short game. They didn't have nothing to. They couldn't get the ball down the field to back people
no
up.
deep game.
You know, the defense, yeah, top 10 perhaps, like you said, Tyler. But I still felt like it was a little underwhelming.
Of
Um,
course.
not having Chubb, and then
Phillips going out.
Phillips going out. But then who is homeboy that retired before he even played this year?
Oh, Shaq.
That that
Shaq
could have been,
Barrett.
yeah, Barrett, Shaquille Barrett. There you go.
Shaquille Barrett.
There's some front seven pieces there that kind of would have been nice to have. The secondary played a lot better. Can give them that, but I think the Dolphins' window, unfortunately, has sailed. You
Yeah.
know, um, I like Mike McDaniel, but now I'm starting to question if he actually can adjust.
100%. 100%. And this is gonna have
Mm.
coming year is gonna be
He's on the
the
hot seat
proving
this
year.
coming year.
This is it. Like, yo, you don't got it. This is done. Same thing with the GM, and
Hey,
that's
if you're
what
not
has to
getting
happen.
wins, that nerdy cut, that nerdy look can only get you so far.
Connor, what do you think about all this Miami hoopla?
I mean, it's tough because looking at your team and my team too, both on paper at the start of the season, we were both like, this could be
A great
this could
year.
be a big year for both of us. And the injuries are always part of football, which is what
Of
you're
course.
expected. But
Yeah.
the thing that we did better was that we signed Tyrod. Tyrod's is been a
Yeah.
backup forever. He started. He's serviceable. He came in one game and was like 8 for 10 with like 80 yards and a touchdown. Like,
He's a
albeit the game
journeyman.
was,
Yeah. He's a
yeah, but
journeyman.
he's a guy you can throw in there. Like, he could win us 2 to 3 of those 6 games that Tua missed. And if he does that, you guys are in the playoffs. We're not
Stay in
having
the
this
hunt.
conversation. But it's there's so much talent on your team that just didn't really show up. And Chop was great this year, but
Chop, Joe. I love him, bro. Love
he
him.
was big. Like, I think he started off real slow
Yeah, he
and
did.
then picked up. But I remember in one of
Third
our
down,
first,
like
yeah,
Cam Wake type of player.
yeah, I remember in our first few episodes, I was talking about one person that kind of got forgotten about in the beginning was John Smith that came up, and then all of a sudden,
I'm glad you brought him up.
and that was a big thing that I talked
Rising
about. I was like,
star.
damn, I was like, you guys got a stud in this guy. And the first like 6 to 10 weeks, it was like, oh, okay, like he's kind of there, but he's not. But then all of a sudden, he broke
Nah,
every record.
he
He
was
became
holding
the
us
number one
down.
guy.
Yeah, he was holding us down for a minute, especially with that whole with Tua not being there. But as soon as Tua came back, shit, he exploded.
Yeah, I would think with his like underneath game would open up more for Waddle and Reek, but it just never kind of transpired that way. Which I was surprised about for sure. So
Tua still never threw Tyreek a on point ball.
Stop
To this
fixing it.
day, everything
Stop
was an
fixing it.
underthrow. To this day, I never seen a one on
Stop
point
it
ball,
fixing it.
deep
Nah,
ball.
you're wild. You're wild. One of the other
Hey,
things
shout out Tyreek.
One of the other things that I was very pleased with this year is Armstead pretty much playing every game and only allowing it 2 sacks all season. This is going to be his last year because I know he was supposed to get surgery on his on at least one of his knees and he kept playing because I think he knew it was time to hang it up. So that was really cool to see him all year really dominate. I think if I had to count off the top of my head, he probably had maybe 3, 4 penalties all year, only let up 2 sacks, and he was when he wasn't in the game, that really hurt.
Another player that might retire, historic career, Calais Campbell. Look like hey, this might have been it for him. Just the way the thrill that he was having out there and the way he went out. Looked like it might be the end, but definitely enjoyed having him on the team. Always one of those guys that just brings joy to the team.
Reading like through the tea leaves with like what's being reported on him right now, it's a possibility he does come back, and I think it would have to be how the roster constructed next year, because
You
we
heard it
got
here first?
what's that? No, no, this is
Oh,
deep
your
deep
sources.
Miami Dolphin Twitter beat writer shit.
Living in Miami is nice. It can prolong someone's career for an extra year or two. You might overpay for it,
For
but
sure, for sure.
But he was such a big factor. I mean, him and C like he started off so hot, and then Sealer kind of took that heat off of him. He played an immense role, and I know y'all seen all the memes with him and
well,
just what he did mean to the speeches to the team.
To the locker room.
Yeah.
a player like him with Calais and he's old school. A lot of the new guys, the young guys, don't I feel like do this much. But what I like about Calais and it gets in quarterbacks' heads is he's great at batting passes down, getting his hands up,
Oh yeah.
huge, and it makes the quarterback start thinking now. Oh, because a lot of things are timing related, and all of a sudden if that quarterback is like, oh, he's in the middle, I have to maybe throw it a little bit more to the right or to the left. That's extra thinking. But Calais is one of those old school guys where that's like his game.
I love that. Big with the big man in the
Huge
middle
part of his
slotted
game.
down. Hell yeah. Connor, as a Jets fan, how do you look at Tua? What is your like real opinion on Tua from an outside of actually from a rival?
Dixon knows this from one of our group chats that I'm a Tua believer, and I think this man has so much talent, and he's just like looked at like he's just I understand the health part of it. Like the best ability is availability. We all know that as
Preach,
football
preach, yeah.
fans. But like when he's out there, it's such a different team. He makes them look like they're 14-2. When he's not there, they're 2-14. And I mean, he got elite ball placement, elite accuracy. He's gotten smarter. He still runs a little, not so smart,
Mhm.
um, but sometimes I look at him like when he was on the sidelines of the Jets games with his little Fendi glasses, and I'm like,
Hey,
bro,
bro, when
what
I
He
tell
was
you
doing too
that,
much that game, right?
nah, but I'm telling you, bro, I promise you, when you see a Tua on the sideline, I have never seen him look like that. I'm telling you, some shit was going on behind the scenes where he was pissed, and some shit was stirring up. I promise you, because Tua's always the first guy to give that quarterback a high five after when they're coming off the field. Tua's the first guy dapping up all his players. It's just
But I
it's
told you,
something
we
happened.
seen that at some point this year, his attitude changed. Like he just went different
Mhm.
this year.
Well, he got into the fuck you thing to the
CTE hit
media.
early. I told you that.
He was like, I'm tired of being the injury boy that everybody's talking about. And he
I
came
think
in
he just
hot,
doubled. Yeah, he
and
just
then he
doubled
got hurt
down on
again.
shit.
Fuck,
He got tired of playing the victim.
So
fuck.
I got to bring something up. I think this is worthy of a discussion here. With the different takes on Tua. Um, I've been a Tua believer since he came out of college. I was like, he'd be number one if he wasn't hurt in college, in my opinion. Like Connor said, elite accuracy, right? Um, Smart as hell. But here's what I want to bring up, and I personally think this might be a problem with Tua. Is there such thing as being too smart for the
Mm,
position?
elaborate
I
on it.
I think he overthinks everything too much because he's so smart about what's going on, the timing, how he plays the game. He's not a one read, two read kind of guy. He's a third, fourth, fifth read. Okay, jump down. Now it's too late. He takes a lot of bad hits. He studies. I feel like and sees the game so in depth rather than just bang bang go. And I think he's gonna be a hell of a coordinator one day. But I think that might be his calling.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I see what you mean. Sometimes it's like too scripted. Like he needs to be a little bit more reactive,
that's
instinctual.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know. I feel like when I watch him, his eyes are just like yeah, it's great he can scan the whole field, but he's like you said, Dixon. Like it's scripted. If it doesn't go the way he sought to go, he kind of breaks down. He'll throw a flutter pass out wide, or he goes into the cradle position. In the pocket or something. But he gets happy feet a little bit when it's. I
But I
just
mean, think about when the line is healthy, though, how much better he is. Like I just said, 3 out of 4, bro. We were starting people off the practice squad. Starters were our practice squad players. So
yeah.
I think, man. I mean, I never really
Um,
thought of it like that, but I'm not gonna say he's like too smart for the position. I think maybe he
Yeah, I could
overthinks.
never say that for a quarterback.
He over
True.
he overthinks his decisions because it's supposed to look a certain way.
I like
That
that.
makes sense. Yeah.
I like the way you put it like that for sure.
He's more of like an actor rather than an improver. You know what I mean? If that's even
Hmm.
a word.
Yeah.
We see
At
that
QB, you kind of got to be a balance.
for us and like watching Rodgers play, the best Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers is like blocking out the OC, being like, fuck it, I'm gonna call my own plays. And in against you guys and Buffalo as well, like there was a few drives where you knew that he was just hurrying up and he was making his own calls, he was checking, he was doing his can, and I think that's where if Tua can kind of get like that, where he's like, fuck it, like I'm gonna get, it's more of a flow instead of like a script. And once he gets into that mode and he kind of trusts himself to make that throw and sit in the pocket, then I think he gets even better than he already is. I think that's his next step to being, into that elite category. But he just got to get there first.
And hopefully his body lets him get there, pretty much.
True.
This is funny because we have a Jets fan and a Vikings fan. I think you guys are higher than Dixon is on Tua, to be honest.
I think
I'm
so.
just so let down by now. Hey, I was the leader of the Tank for Tua campaign. Tyler will
Oh
tell
yeah,
you
yeah.
he was special in college, to that injury, but it's just like physically, it's hard for him.